Hey guys, it's Julia and I'm back with another video. It's been far too long since we've had an advice column or video, vlog, whatever you want to call it. And so I've been taking submissions all morning on what to give advice on, and I've landed on a pretty interesting one that we are going to dive into today. Now, I would just like to make a small disclaimer. I'm no relationship expert. These are just opinions I have here, just to try to help you face some of these conflicts head on. And I really wish you all the best of luck, and I hope someone gets something out of this. So, the submission consisted of a boyfriend and a girlfriend who are living together. One of them is from the States, and one of them is from India. They live in an apartment together, and one of them is extremely messy. Clothes everywhere, trash everywhere, and dirty dishes piling up in the sink every single day. Oh, the age-old roommate conflict. We see this all the time. We see parents getting upset at children for this. We see husbands and wives mad at each other. We see roommates mad at each other in apartments, in college dorms, all of the above. This is always a hot topic when it comes to living with someone. It's so ironic because most homes have dishwashers. Seems pretty simple, just load up your dishes and call it good. But it apparently is a lot more complicated than that to many people. Even in my home, my family unit, I live with 6 people. We struggle big time with dishes. My parents have a very healthy marriage, and they still get upset with each other for not doing the dishes. So this is an age-old conflict. I don't see it going away anytime soon, but we're going to talk about how to face it head on. So, when facing any conflict, it's crucial to go into it with an open mind and with patience and with the desire to reconcile or a desire to resolve the conflict in some way and a desire to listen. It is so important to hear out the other side, and it's so important to be able to clearly communicate your own feelings and the truth about the matter as you see it. It's important to get information from both perspectives, even with something as simple and as minuscule as the dishes. When entering a conflict, it's really important to consider conflict or context as well, and the other person's conflict styles. Are they more likely to run away from the conflict? Are they more likely to defend themselves highly? Or are they more likely to be passive and avoid it? It's really important to have at least a slight awareness of this when going into it so you can face the conflict in the best way possible. It's also important to consider the context of the situation as a whole and the context of this individual and their past and their current state mentally and physically. All the above are really important things to consider. Another thing that's really interesting about this particular submission is that one of the roommates, the boyfriend, is from India. That is an Eastern culture. And Eastern cultures generally, this is a strong generalization, face conflict different than Western cultures, which the girlfriend is from the States, so she's a Western culture. Eastern cultures tend to be more high-tech context cultures, a lot less direct, a lot less verbal in their communication, and also they view conflict as something that's closely related and a part of the individual involved. Whereas within Western culture, we see the conflict as separate from the person, and it's less likely to be offensive if the conflict is brought up in attempts to resolve it. Whereas in an Eastern culture, the conflict is so closely tied to that person's individuality that if they are approached about the conflict, it's gonna affect them so much differently. So it's very, very, very important to approach them individually and not ever in a group setting, not ever in front of others, because that's going to be very offensive and hurtful to them, and it's going to be more detrimental to resolving the conflict because they see that as their reputation and who they are as being tainted because they've just been directly approached about something that's super negative about them. Whereas typically in Western cultures, we see it just, like a conflict or a problem you have with me, you're going to approach me about it. That's just something that a mistake you made and that exists separately from me, and I'll just fix what I have to fix within myself, or whatever, or I'll just not care and I'll move on from it. Obviously there's a lot more to that than just simply moving past things, but it's very important to be aware that the conflict needs to be addressed privately and in a way that does not tear down their character individually. It's also important to consider this person's past. Did he ever have roommates in college? Did he ever have to do chores growing up? Did he have siblings growing up? It's often common in a one-child family for them to not have to necessarily do all the same form of work that children of many kids, or children that grew up in a home with many kids, had to do. It's possible that because there was just one child, the parents just did the dishes because there was no sweat. They didn't have to ever think about dishes piling up because it was just doing the dishes for 3 people total. These are all important things to consider when approaching a conflict. Another thing to be super aware of is your own conflict style. When you go into the conflict, are you trying to attack the person? Are you trying to face the conflict head on and resolve it and reconcile and find a solution together? Perhaps a willingness to compromise. All these things are really important to consider before facing the conflict head on. So these are super random points, all heading back to chatting with your partner about who's going to do the dishes. Basically, I'd encourage you to sit down with them, discuss your feelings, talk about what you've noticed, what you've observed, state some facts that are true, that you can sense, that you can see. I see that these dishes have been piling up. I smell that they've been piling up. Consider your senses, things that they cannot deny. Talk about how it makes you feel, and talk about what you're willing to do to help resolve the conflict. Perhaps I'm willing to do the dishes 5 days of the week, if you pull your weight these few days. And then ask them their perspective on it, and really just seek to find understanding and a compromise and a solution of sorts, and be willing to listen. And this might not work out. So that's back to my disclaimer of me not being a relationship expert, but I hope it does, and I believe in you all, and conflict is worth it. Seek clarity, seek understanding, be active listeners, and good luck, everyone. Bye, guys.